Hello again, my name is Marcus Jones and welcome back to the fourth video in the series of Project Manta Ray. So great that you've stuck with it so far. It's well worth the wait because now we get to actually complete a workflow, which is to actually consume the asset. So in this video we'll be looking at what that entails, and in particular we will be sending a transaction into the blockchain, and this transaction will then trigger a series of events, and we will be monitoring these events as they go through. And finally, the last event that is handled will actually trigger the download of an asset. All of this is handled by another component in the Ocean Protocol architecture, another microservice that handles the access control to the asset. So again, this asset, from the publisher perspective, you are the one who controls access to this asset, and you could put any number of conditions in any configuration of conditions. In this case, we're only exploring the most simple, which is actually just the condition of that the user has enough funds, and that they're actually able to transfer those funds to you and complete the payment. So once that's triggered, only then will you then start to give access to an asset. So that's the consume workflow and the fourth notebook of the series. Let's take a look. So after you've selected an asset, and this could be by searching for a certain asset, or maybe you are sent a DID from a colleague with by email or something, you could search an asset using the API as described in the previous notebook, or you could also just be searching on a Web 2.0 marketplace built on top of Ocean. In this case, we'll be looking at the low-level API, the lower-level API for consuming an asset with Manta Ray. So we'll open up this next notebook, and we'll go through exactly the same steps that we've already done a few times. So we're going to import, configure, and instantiate the Ocean Protocol API. So everything's connected. And I've also have a new configuration option, which is to actually store the address of a marketplace provider, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. So just as before, we're going to select an account, and in this case we're going to first actually go through the publish flow again and actually register an asset into Ocean. So again, that means that the asset exists somewhere in a URL or several file URLs, and we're going to just register this sample data set. It's not a data set; it's just an example asset, and we're going to call the same method that we've done before in the publish notebook, the create. We're going to use our publisher account. And now we have another option to delegate the control of access to the marketplace provider. And that's why I have this address, this additional attribute here. So what this means is that you're essentially telling the marketplace that they are allowed to sell the asset on your behalf. And of course, this could be something that's very convenient for you, or maybe you would like to do this yourself, and in that case you would not need to include the marketplace provider address. You could include your own address as a provider. But for the next step, we will need this marketplace provider address to actually get access to this asset. So the next thing we'll do is we'll get a second account, and you can see I'm getting the second account, or the index by one account, and we're going to take a look at this account, and we see that we have an address as before, we have some testnet Ethereum, and we have some Ocean token. And in this section of this code cell, I'm actually doing a quick check to make sure that you do actually have some Ocean token in this account. And if you do not, we're going to just call the same method that we've checked before in an earlier notebook to request tokens. So that's the same method that we've looked at in this earlier notebook for users and token, same thing. So in this case, we didn't need to trigger that if statement because we have enough Ocean token to consume this asset. let's go through the next steps. So with this account in place, we're going to start the flow of actually ordering this asset. So when I start this cell, it's going to actually initiate a series of blockchain events, and that's what this next cell is doing. It's going to listen for those events. So we're doing several things. We're going to create a service agreement. We're going to lock the reward. We're going to access the secret store for the decryption keys, and then we're going to make sure that the user is able to pay for this, and that they do actually pay for this asset. And you can see, as I was speaking, each event takes some time, and that's again the nature of the blockchain, is that this is an asynchronous call, and we're running on a proof of authority network. So it should be, the reason we're doing that is because it's at least now it's faster than the Ethereum mainnet, and because we know that the speed of transaction is very important for data scientists who are doing more than just cryptocurrency trading. They're actually using this as a utility token. So actually, we're all set for the next step, which is to actually consume or download this this asset. So I'll just go back and take a look at this line. So we've placed an order, and we've then generated an agreement ID. The next thing we did was we actually went through the process of signing this agreement. So essentially it's just like a contract or a purchase order on paper. It's the same process. We're just going through a series of conditions to ensure that this contract is valid. And so now it is valid, and then we can actually go ahead and consume this asset or download this asset. So we see in the UI we have some feedback about the download progress. We've then have some confirmation that the file is downloaded and saved, and we can take a look in our Notebook Explorer here and take a look and see if we've actually downloaded it. So we'll take a look at this first file. So we have 3 files in this asset, in this example asset, and we'll take a look at the first file, which is this PDF. And now we can finally see that this test asset is actually just our original Ocean Protocol white paper. So that's sort of a great overview of how easy it is to actually download, gain access to these digital assets. So from the consumer perspective, you're essentially, again, signing some type of contract. And this is the amazing thing about the blockchain, is that you can set up a number of conditions, and these conditions are cryptographically secure. So this means that there is no real way to fake these conditions, or you don't need to rely on some other party to actually have the amount of funds that they say they do. So this is all the real power of blockchain and decentralization. And this is the core of Ocean Protocol as well, is to capture this and incorporate this into your data science workflow. So that completes the first little look at this API for data science. So we've gone through all the notebooks now, and we'll start into another series describing how to actually incorporate this workflow into. So these are all basically building blocks, and we want to then incorporate that into a broader data science workflow. So this means how do we build new types of assets, like maybe accessing not just something to download, but accessing something that allows us to train a model and then register that model into Ocean Protocol for you to then resell to other people, or to download an asset, to download a data set to train a model, and then use that model in your own production. And all of this is enabled by this Jupyter Lab interface. And you can also take these notebooks as a starting point and start exploring how to use Ocean Protocol in your own workflow. So I hope that was useful, and I hope to see you in the next series of videos.